Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Oakland Military School Honor Guard and the singing of our national anthem by the Pacific Boy Choir Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Heminger, Executive Director, Metropolitan Transportation Commission.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Toll Bridge Program Oversight Committee and my committee colleagues Malcolm Doherty, the Director of Caltrans, and Andre Boutros, the Executive Director of the California Transportation Commission, it is my great pleasure to welcome you at long last to the opening ceremonies for the new east span of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. That's an applause line. I know you join me in thanking the Oakland Military Institute Color Guard and the Pacific Boy Choir for their wonderful participation in our ceremonies. And I guess I will not ask you if it's hot enough for you, because it certainly is. So do please keep cool. Gentlemen, take off your jackets if you need to. Keep plenty of water going and keep an eye on your neighbor if they start grouping. I'm going to ask you to rise again, and that might create a little more air, to hear our invocation from the Reverend Dr. J. Alfred Smith, Jr. with Oakland's Allen Temple Baptist Church.
Let us pray. O Lord, our God, thou who art the architect, engineer, and creator of the universe, we have gathered on this historic occasion in a spirit of joy and celebration. O God, we give thanks for the generosity of your divine grace, for the supply of the needed material resources, and for the provision of human expertise to accomplish this magnificent project. We lift up thanks for the conscientious commitment, cooperation, and hard work wrought by so many people in so many roles and at so many levels of responsibility to bring this beautiful bridge from creative conception to concrete completion. We pray your blessings upon this illustrious bridge and for the safety and well-being of all who shall traverse it. Bless, O God, this triumphant celebration that we share. And may this awe-inspiring bridge inspire us all to reach our human potential as human bridges that will seek to bridge the gulfs that separate our diverse communities. May we too be bridges that will connect people and bring them together. May we too be bridges that will provide for the common good. May this wonderful bridge, this Oakland San Francisco Bay Bridge, inspire us to continue to envision bold and beautiful feats in the service of all humankind. Amen.
I think I will follow my example. Darn right. Thank you, Reverend Smith. The coats will keep peeling off as we go. We'll see who the last holdout is. I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this building, the newly renovated Interurban Electric Railway Bridge Yard Shop building, also known as IRBYS for short. That is one lousy acronym, so we've decided to rename it the Bridge Yard, which is the sign that's on the side of the building. This is where they repaired the key system trains that used to run on the lower deck of the Bay Bridge before commuter rail service ceased in 1958. And for those transit advocates who'd like to blame me for that mistake, I hasten to add the train stopped running the year before I was born. Now it's time to wax poetic, and we happen to have just the right person for the job in Juan Felipe Herrera, currently a professor of creative writing at UC Riverside. He was appointed to his post as California's Poet Laureate by Governor Brown in 2012. It is my pleasure to introduce Juan Felipe Herrera, who has written a poem about our beautiful new bridge.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. You look fabulous. This looks fabulous. I want to thank Governor Brown for nominating me and confirming me as your Poet Laureate. I want to thank the California Arts Council for doing the same, University of California, Riverside, and Will Shuck from the Department of Transportation. Thank you so much. And I also want to introduce you to our Youth Poet Laureate of Oakland, Obasi Davis, who's 17 years old, and he's right there standing up. He's our new laureate for Oakland. Thank you so much, Obasi. My wife is right there, Margarita, who's my great inspiration, Obasi's dad, Hadari, who works so much for Oakland in the arts. Bridge poem, Bay Bridge Inauguration Poem. San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, East Span, September 2nd, 2013. For all bridge dreamers, bridge builders, and bridge crossers. Self-anchored, self-sustaining, a light unto itself. This arc that lifts us, this arc that sings us as we pass Bay Bridge. I see you now, your new design risen. Above star waters, a new galaxy appears, a new trillion. May we live in your safety, in your carriage, in your heart. May all your hours and all your lights embrace us once again. May we curl across your shoulders as bird, fish, singers. May we be the bridge for a new time of beauty and peace. Let us thank the workers, artists of space and matter. One sound, one tree, one knitted rebozo, shawl for our mothers. Aloft she turns, she protects renewed waves of children. Today we are born to wind, sky, steel, and turquoise choirs. We are filled with light, strength, height, gratitude, and violet, ocean stillness. We open our arms, our bridge of many bridges. Everything is different now. Melodic, silver, harmonious. Everything is open now. Spiritual inhalation of the Pacific Rim, voyages, migrations, the conversations of generations. I want you to repeat this word after me. I'm going to back up. Conversations. Viva! 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 The workers applaud now. Iron workers, painters, welders, planners, architects, engineers, laborers, tradeswomen, drivers. Viva! Viva! Lifters, callers, crane operators. Viva! Viva! Cement mixers, cable threaders. Viva! Viva! After the earthquake, we shall live. Yes, we shall live. We shall round dance in honor. Spider bug is coming up. Spider buggy's coming up. Light poles, hold them steady, steady. Saddle template fit up. North main span cable ready, ready. Motion sensors, booster pump, expansion tank. Spider buggy's coming up. Spider buggy's coming up. Spider buggy's coming up. We shall live in our luminescent loom of lights and cosmos. Yes. We shall hula dance in expansive unity once again today. Yes. Hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder, woven and winged dancer. We shall swivel alive, gold and silver, dark sequence with joy. We shall live, crossing into the other, from one to the second, from the second to the linked infinity. Today the chain is cut and we are released. Oakland, San Francisco, earth to all earth, ocean to sky, wind to star nebula. Once again, you and me, we, the people, el pueblo. It is the people. Bay Bridge, hold on to each other. Move now, rise now, for the world to see. Thank you so much.
Mr. Herrera, thank you very much for those artful words. It's hard to believe you're from Southern California. You're welcome here anytime. The construction of the new East Span has been a public-private partnership from the get-go, and that spirit of partnership is in full force today as well. In particular, I'd like to recognize the corporate sponsors of today's event listed on the big screens. First, our presenting level sponsors, American Bridge Floor, a joint venture, and T.Y. Lin International. Our platinum sponsor is Parsons Brinkerhoff. The gold level sponsors are Blyco Incorporated and Cubic Corporation. And our silver sponsors are AECOM, KFM, Moffitt & Nickel, Musco Lighting, and Xerox. Thanks to these and all our sponsors, and while we're at it, let's thank the Bay Bridge Alliance and their president, Bobby Winston, for making all these funds flow. Thank you. The opening of the new East Span truly is a landmark event. It marks the end of nearly 24 years of effort to deliver seismic safety to all 7 of the state-owned toll bridges in the Bay Area, something we achieve as of today, from Antioch in the north to the Dumbarton in the south. That's an applause line, too. Today we see the advent of a new architectural and engineering icon, a testament to challenges faced, many challenges faced, and challenges met. The new span also serves as a case study for the long and winding road through thickets of permitting and politics and polemics that seem inevitably to be a part of any big public works project in contemporary California. Indeed, as we end our journey on the new East Span, the high-speed rail project is just beginning its own trial by fire. But we can't celebrate the new span without acknowledging the old one. While some of the obstacles have changed since the original bridge was built in the 30s, the wellspring of inspiration for such a project endures. And in the words of then Governor Frank Merriam, written while the original bridge was under construction, those words written 80 years ago still ring true today. Governor Merriam said, "Bridges do not build themselves. And before the labor in concrete and steel, there was the labor in the minds of men. We now building this bridge would be remiss indeed if we did not set forth in the record of caissons sunk and towers raised an acknowledgement of the distinguished public service performed at the birth of this project and in its subsequent developments by citizens, public officers, and civic organizations. For thousands of men and women around the world who contributed to the conception, design, construction, and delivery of the new East Span, and for all the people of California, this is a day to celebrate. Today we have the right to embrace a sense of achievement, a sense of relief, and a sense of thanksgiving. None of us will forget that the new East Span is first and foremost a public safety project. And despite the journey's length, it has been completed before the arrival of our next big earthquake. And thank goodness for that. That the bridge is so good looking is just a bonus that all of us who are so fortunate to live here in the Bay Area will be able to enjoy. So today we say hello to the new East Span, but we also say goodbye to the original version. Perhaps a few comparisons between the old and the new are in order, and you can follow along on your screens. The original bridge, of course, was completed in the Great Depression, and the new bridge completed as we've weathered the Great Recession. The cost was a little different between the two. Even if you convert the original cost of the whole bridge end to end, it's about $1 billion in today's money, and the new East Span cost a little bit more than that. The duration of construction was also quite a bit different as well. They did things a lot faster back then in the 1930s, and for one thing, they didn't have to tangle with somebody as formidable as Willie Brown. I said formidable. One reason the new bridge costs so much more that I don't think people really pause to think about is that with the original bridge, when they were building it, there was nothing in the way. All we had was ferries plying the bay. And of course, the new bridge, we had to build it around the existing bridge and keep traffic moving, except for a Labor Day every once in a while when we closed it. And so that's one reason why the new bridge cost quite a bit more. Both bridges set records. The original bridge had the world's deepest marine foundation. That's at Pier E2 out by the big cantilever section, which is the first piece that we'll be trying to take down over the next few years. The new East Span, of course, has the world's longest and largest self-anchored suspension span, and you'll be enjoying it in a few hours, and the people of our region will be enjoying it for many decades after that. Here's the clincher, though. In the argument for the new bridge, the old one can't withstand the big earthquake, and the new one can. And I'm afraid you can rest the case right there, but I'll rub it in a little bit more. Two more. As far as alternative transportation, the folks in the 30s were actually quite farsighted, as I mentioned earlier, running trains on the old bridge, but they didn't put a sidewalk on it. Even though the Golden Gate was built around the same time and has a sidewalk, this new bridge does. And when we get the old bridge out of the way, that sidewalk will go all the way to Yerba Buena Island, and then I'm sure the bike advocates will start agitating to get it all the way to San Francisco after that. And finally, this is the one I particularly love. It's about money. When the original bridge opened, folks paid $1.30 to cross it. That's $22 in today's money. So the next time you hear somebody belly aching about the $4 toll, the $6 toll, just tell them how bad they had it in the 1930s. So that's the old bridge, that's the new bridge. We're going to hear a lot about both of them today, and we are in Oakland, and it is fitting and proper that the first elected official you hear from is the chief executive of Oakland. Jean Quan is also a member of my commission, one of my bosses, so I'm sure her remarks will be just excellent. Mayor Quan.
So, welcome to Oakland. You know, when I became mayor, I said, you know, Oakland is the city of dreams. It's been the city of dreams since the Transcontinental Railroad ended not too far from here, and thousands of immigrants from the East Coast would arrive every week. And it has become the city of dreams because it is the place where today's immigrants can afford to live. About 120 plus languages are spoken in the city of Oakland. And in many ways, this bridge, it was a dream of some people. And like most things in Oakland, it has not been easy. We have very difficult political and economic and other hurdles. But when we all come together after we've all had our say, aren't the results beautiful? Isn't it really beautiful? So I texted the other mayor of Oakland, Governor Brown, today, and said, we're really sorry you're not here. For many of you who have followed the fights over this bridge, he said he wanted an elegant bridge. Jerry had a vision for this bridge, and I would have hated to have been on the MTC or Caltrans staff at that time. And he had help from his buddy, the other Mayor Brown. The Brown brothers got it done, and we have a bridge that we can walk on today, and that bridges so many different things. It bridges, I think, both our minister and our poet laureate said much more eloquently than I, but it bridges the great diversity, the economy of the Bay Area, and is really symbol of, quite frankly, what government can do. People beat up a lot on government, but the really great structures, Mayor Brown here always told me, make sure you build things. That's important, you'll see them. But this is really not only going to be the core of much of our transportation and our commerce in the Bay Area, but it is really, I believe, going to be a symbol. I was teasing a New York Times reporter because Oakland was picked the 5th best place, and I know the Chronicle never reported this. It was picked the 5th best place to visit in the world by the New York Times, and they told me we don't cover things that other papers cover. And I'm hoping that we'll move up a rank now because of this beautiful bridge and the ability to walk out and to symbolize the commitment that the elected officials ahead of me on the left and MTC, you should just wave your hands, and other people coming together to realize this is not an Oakland project, although I have to say I will always call it the Oakland span of the Bay Bridge and not the San Francisco Bay Bridge. But that it is that symbol. And lastly, on a personal note, something that I don't think Ed thought I was going to do this, but Ed Lee and I joked about this when he got elected. About 150-something years ago, there was a very famous picture of another great transportation, and I'm not talking about this bridge 77 years ago, but I'm talking about the Golden Spike in Utah, when the Transcontinental Railroad came together, bringing East and West together. And in that picture, if you're an Asian American Studies activist like myself, I always noticed that the bankers in the middle, then the Irish workers, no, then the townspeople, then the Irish workers, and right at the edge were the Chinese workers who'd done the most dangerous part of it. And today, 2 Chinese American mayors are going to be part of bringing it together here in San Francisco. And so on a personal note, in these years of great victories, the civil rights victories, the 50th anniversary of the Martin Luther King speech, the acknowledgement of courts that anybody should marry anybody they love, may this bridge be a symbol of how America has changed and how beautiful it is to have a place like the Bay Area where we dream and we innovate and we change the world. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barbara Lee, Congresswoman, 13th District.
Well, good afternoon. Let me first thank Mayor Kwan for your tremendous leadership of our great city, to all of our state elected officials, to Mayor Lee, and of course to Mayor Willie Brown. Let me just thank all of you for helping to get us to this day. What a wonderful day it is. Also, I have to just mention and thank everyone here from all our transportation agencies, our contractors, our architects, manufacturers, our workers, everyone who had a hand in building this magnificent bridge. Thank you for your long hours and your hard work in the face of big challenges, and these have been some major challenges, but they're paying off today. So give everyone who had a hand in this a round of applause, because they did a phenomenal job. They did an unbelievable job. And let me just say, we must not forget those who so tragically lost their lives in the Loma Prieta earthquake. And we must always honor their memory, and let's remember them today also. The contributions that this bridge will make to the Bay Area and to California, they are enormous. First, it's a beautiful structure that adds another iconic structure to our already incredible Bay Area landscape. It is truly a gateway to our vibrant and from our vibrant East Bay community. Second, this bridge, it ensures our safety. We all remember the destruction brought by the Loma Prieta earthquake, and we know the dangers of a future quake. That's why it's so important that this span is built to withstand and survive even the most violent quake. As a Caltrans designated lifeline, we will rely on this bridge to maintain access to emergency response and resources in the case of a natural or man-made disaster. Third, this bridge has major impacts on our regional and state economies. It will improve the transit of goods and people between San Francisco and, of course, my district of Oakland, California, and the East Bay, home to the Port of Oakland, which is an important economic engine. It will also continue to serve as an artery for daily commuters who work and live on either side of the bay. We cannot forget it is the toll payers who fund these projects and their upkeep. And so we have to give our toll payers a round of applause and thank them for their support in this measure. Finally, I am so glad that with the addition of bike and pedestrian lanes, we are also moving closer to an integrated and intermodal transit system that is good for our environment and for our communities. And so in closing, let me thank everyone for all of your efforts leading up to this day, and it has been eagerly awaited. You know, I was not elected to office in 1989, and I've been in the Assembly and the Senate and 15 years in Congress, thanks to you. And so let me just say, I have eagerly awaited this day also. Rest assured that I will continue to be an advocate in Congress with our great, wonderful Bay Area delegation, even in this tough environment, for critical investments in transportation infrastructure. I wish you the best of luck and a very happy Labor Day. Thank you again. Now let me introduce our tremendous leader in the California State Senate President Pro Tem, Darrell Steinberg. Good to see you.
How you doing, Congresswoman? Thank you, Congresswoman Lee. Good afternoon to leaders from the Bay Area. When I hear people talk about this bridge and today's event, the touchstone that is most often talked about is 1989, the Loma Prieta earthquake. And that is, of course, appropriate. But as Steve Heminger said earlier, the touchstone for this great California event could just as easily be 1936, the year that the bridge was built. For in 1936, this state and this country were in the midst of the Great Depression. And as former San Francisco Mayor Angelo Rossi said at that dedication, this bridge is a sample of the West to come, a signal to renewed civic effort, a proof that the pioneer spirit still lives. And now, of course, it is 2013, and we are here again. Today, we dedicate this new span just having worked through the toughest economic time since the Great Depression. And so we must make it a symbol of what is yet to come, a time of growth, not just holding on. More Californians working in high-wage jobs, not more unemployment. A time of making real what we only dream of, and not just settling for what's easy. A time for the inevitable disagreements over what we do and how we do it to lead to principled compromises and progress, not tired failure. On this Labor Day, thank you to all of the great leaders, Mayor Brown, Mayor Kwan, Mayor Lee, and all those whose pictures are symbolized throughout this hall, those who worked so hard to make this historic day come to pass. And now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce my colleague, Senator Lonnie Hancock.
Thank you, Darrell. Yes, 24 years since the Loma Prieta earthquake. It's about time, everybody, isn't it? It's also, while we're doing touchstones, 8 years since the Bay Area delegation came together in a time of financial hardship for the state, when there were questions about if we could afford to retrofit the bridge or maybe it should just be a ramp to Treasure Island, and put together a program that led to the retrofit of every state-owned bridge in California. And I was proud, as part of the Bay Area delegation at that time, along with our majority leader in the Senate, Ellen Corbett, who's here today, along with Senator Parada, with then Assemblyman John Dutra, who I think may be here today as well, and of course Brian Kelly, our new head of Caltrans, who at that time was working with Senator Parada. And as a delegation, we put together a bill that I was proud to be able to carry, AB 144, that led to this beautiful bridge today. And my thought then, and my thought now, is that this bridge brings to my mind the old labor song about bread and roses. It is a useful bridge. It will connect our communities. It allows our commerce to continue. And everybody, it is a gorgeous piece of public art. And every time we see it, whether driving across it, whether looking at it from the shore, our spirits will soar as it does for generations, our generation and those that come after us. So it's my pleasure now to introduce one of my colleagues, Assemblywoman Nancy Skinner.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, officials, elected and others, all you folks and my constituents as the span lands in AD 15. It is a wonderful day, and I am so thrilled to be here. And I want to thank Mayor Brown particularly, and of course the other officials during that time, Senator Hancock, Senator Parada, who's not here, that I know of, our now governor, then Mayor Brown, and the other officials who fought so hard to make this a beautiful world-class structure that rivals the Golden Gate Bridge. And as a San Francisco native, I can say that. And I feel like I've come full circle, as my birthplace and my father's and my grandfather's was San Francisco, and yet a far longer East Bay resident. We deserve, as the whole Bay Area does, 2, if not many more, world-class bridges, which we have. Now, we're standing in my Assembly colleague Rob Bonta's district, who is from District 18, and allow me to introduce my other Assembly members who've joined us today. Apologies. Assemblymember Bonta, Assemblymember Joan Buchanan from the 16th AD, Jim Frazier from the 11th District, Mark Levine from Marin, the 10th District, Assemblymember Kevin Mullen from the San Mateo area, 22nd District, Assemblymember Phil Ting from the 19th, and Assemblymember Bob Wajkowski from the 25th. Now, Mayor Brown made a very, I think, prophetic statement when he talked about what he wanted, and I'm referring now to Governor Brown, former Mayor Brown, that the Bay Area wanted a bridge that expresses the daring of human ingenuity and symbolizes the splendor of Oakland and the East Bay. And as the other speakers who have stood before you have indicated, and I agree, this is what we are inaugurating today. The other thing that I would recall has been mentioned. My first memory, my earliest memory was the '57 quake that was centered in San Mateo. And of course, I've lived through every other quake, including the '89. And I will tell you what a huge relief for me to know that I and everyone else who uses this bridge will no longer have to be in fear of their life, because we don't know when that next quake will happen. And now we can drive across it with the assurance that we are not risking our lives. And we thank everyone who fought for that and built it today, and we're so glad that that quake didn't happen yet. And the other thing that I'm particularly proud of, as I think we all are, that it is a span that will withstand centuries and that will be with us as long as the grizzly giant, the large sequoia in Yosemite that is 1,800 years old right now, and which our firefighters are currently fighting to protect from the rim fire. I also want to take this opportunity, since it's Labor Day, to thank the workers for their incredible work on this beautiful span. A year ago, I had the privilege as a guest of Caltrans to bring some of my constituents and many folks from building trades to look and take a tour of the new span, and also to go to the very top of the tower. And it was breathtaking. And we are so, so pleased that labor used their blood, sweat, and tears and their labor and got good jobs from this and will continue to get good jobs as they remove the existing structure. So I'm pleased again to be here, and I will now introduce my colleague from the other side of the span, Senator Mark Leno.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. It is a great pleasure to be here to celebrate this auspicious occasion. Fellow elected colleagues and distinguished guests, especially on this Labor Day celebration, I want to offer my heartfelt thanks to all of the bridge workers, the contractors, MTC, Caltrans, California Transportation Commission, and of course the voters who have done what was necessary to get us to this day. And to those who have, it has been, as it has been said, woven a web of dreams into a web of steel. And what a better time to remember the 8,300 workers, those men who tirelessly toiled to see that a madman's dream was realized. That madman, of course, was Emperor Norton, who back in 1872 not only envisioned a bridge connecting Oakland to San Francisco, but also decreed that the Army should arrest the boards of city fathers for failing to fund a survey to determine whether that bridge spanning the bay could be built. Different from the chain cutting of 1936, when the Bay Area celebrated, yes, an on-time and under-budget completion of an engineering marvel, we can take great pride and recognition of the fact that not a single human life was lost in the construction of this 21st century San Francisco Bay Bridge. Let's humbly remember the 28 lives that were lost from 1933 to 1936. And yes, through upcoming public hearings in the California State Senate, we will review and learn from our mistakes so that the escalation of costs that we've recently experienced does not repeat itself in future public works projects. But public sentiment today would never have tolerated such loss of life, no matter how great the project. Incrementally, we do make progress. Safety has and always will be top priority for the bridge that now carries 280,000 vehicles every day, over 100 million vehicles each year. Compare that to the 9 million vehicles the first year that the East Bay Bridge was in service. We have, as been mentioned, collectively blessed in this borrowed time that has taken us to arrive at this historic day, that no other tragedy has resulted. But that concern is now behind us as we enjoy the beauty and seismically enhanced safety of this extraordinary new bridge. I personally will forever remember the first day I saw the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. It was 1967. The occasion was my first of many viewings of The Graduate. I was completely seduced by the grandeur of the bridge, the majestic natural beauty of the San Francisco Bay, and of course that red Alfa Romeo Spider convertible. I was hooked. It took that 16-year-old boy another 10 years to get here, but now after 36 years, I have never looked back. I love you, San Francisco Bay Area. I love you, San Francisco Bay Bridge. As we say in the Jewish tradition, ad mea esrim, should you live to 120 minimally, as did Moses. It is now my honor to introduce our speaker, and I would say that there is no one who articulates the benefits of apprenticeship programs, women in the trades, prevailing wages, project labor agreements, high-speed rail, and CEQA. And I ask you to join me in welcoming the president of the State Building and Construction Trades Council of California, Mr. Robbie Hunter.
The State Building and Construction Trades Council of California represents in excess of 400,000 construction workers. I myself am a member of the International Association of Bridge, Structural, and Reinforcing Iron Workers and spent almost 30 years building skyscrapers and bridges throughout California. As we stand here today in the shadow of two of the greatest and most historic bridges ever built, the Golden Gate and the Bay Bridge, both built over 80 years ago, on this Labor Day, I dedicate these words not only to the workers who built this bridge, but also to the long gone bridge workers that no doubt are looking on this today. During an era of construction of thousands of bridges, these historic spans, during an era of historic bridges spanning the great natural divides that stopped our nation, this construction allowed our nation to grow. Part of the New Deal that utilized the great public work projects to lift us up from the Great Depression, the construction of this bridge came during one of the greatest downturns and of unemployment for construction workers in the nation has ever seen. The jobs that this bridge provided during this time helped many thousands of construction workers and their families make it through this disastrous recession. A bridge such as this one is one of the most dangerous of a construction worker's career, but led by a partnership of American Bridge, Fluor, over 3.5 million man-hours were worked with no loss of life. I would like to thank American Bridge and Fluor for caring about our workers, Caltrans for assuring that every safety procedure that could be deployed was put in during the bidding process. But most of all, I would like to thank the workers from all of the trades that worked hard, utilizing their training, sacrificing time with their family to ensure that we had the best and safest bridge this nation could provide. On this Labor Day, we can find no finer tribute than to be standing here in the shadow of this new, wonderful bridge and look on it with pride and dignity. Thank you. I'll read off a list of some of the trades that worked. The iron workers, Local 377 and 378, Oakland, San Francisco. The operating engineers, Local 3. The pile drivers, Local 34. The carpenters, Local 22. The laborers, 261. Cement masons, 300. And the IBW, and I don't have their numbers, why don't you shut them out? IBW locals. All right, brothers. With that, I'd like to introduce Mike Flower, President and CEO of American Bridge Fluor joint venture. And Mike, I do thank you for taking care of our workers.
This is a tough act to follow. Thank God I'm not last, Malcolm, or the governor. Good afternoon, it's a pleasure to be here. Self-anchored suspension bridge is kind of like my little girl. It's where I started on this job. I've moved from the East Coast to come out to build it. And it changed my life, and I think it's going to change a lot of lives of people that worked on the job. The bridge itself built a lot of symbolic bridges, a lot of partnerships. The bridge facilitated a unique marriage of partners, not only with respect to American Bridge and Fluor and that partnership, certainly the design JV with T.Y. Lin, Moffitt and Nickel, and on the owner's side with the Toll Bridge Oversight Committee and the partnership that involved MTC, CTC, and of course Caltrans. The early days of the job, the SAS project almost 7 years ago, we had a meeting here in Oakland, and the department and the Oversight Committee delivered a message loud and clear to get this one-of-a-kind piece, this last key piece, done as quickly as possible. Complete the SAS and restore the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge to seismic safety before the San Andreas or the Hayward faults could devastate the Bay Area economy and cause a tragic loss of life. The message became a singular focus for all those stakeholders and went on to forge a lot of new global relationships. And through hard work and determination, and more importantly, through the strength of that common goal, we have overcome what at times seemed insurmountable. And the finish line is finally in sight. In a matter of hours, we will keep our solemn promise to win the race and open the new bridge. I'd like to thank the department for all of its support and partnership, the Toll Bridge Oversight Committee for its leadership and direction, for T.Y. Lynn Moffitt Nichols Design Joint Venture for its vision of this stunning new bridge. And believe me, if you haven't been out, it is stunning. But no matter how great that vision and how complete that plan, it still has to be executed by people. Skilled craftsmen, inspectors, engineers, designers from all over the world. Literally millions of man-hours of effort that bring to life the plans and visions of the designers. To our key suppliers that have traveled here from all over the globe, from China, ZPMC and Shanghai Pujong Cable, from South Korea, Ho-Chang, from Japan, Japan Steel Works, and from the UK, Goodwin. We welcome you to Oakland to witness the fruits of your labor. It is a privilege to share this moment with you, and we are grateful for your many contributions, and by your presence here today, we are honored. Let us also be mindful of the contributions of several other contractors responsible for various facets of the Skyway, the approach structures and foundations. Kiewit, Flatiron West, Manson Construction, MCM Construction, C.C. Myers, Cow Engineers and Contractors, Silverado Construction, Gordon N. Ball, West Bay Builders, Diablo Contractors, the Dutra Group, and Granite Construction, and believe me, many, many more subcontractors that played a key role in the success that we now face. I want to also be a little selfish now and offer a special thanks to the men and women of American Bridge and Floor for their spirit and their pride of performance in executing this unprecedented structure. Undaunted by negative sentiments, you have set a new standard in bridge building, and without question, and I can say this with 40 years experience building bridges, you are the best team that I've ever had the privilege to lead, and I miss you all greatly. So as at long last we can cross this new bridge today and marvel at her beauty, please let us be reminded of all the dedicated workers around the world to whom today's spotlight truly belongs, and how fitting that we pause to celebrate on a day that is set aside to honor the contributions of labor to the better good of all. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you, both Mike and Robbie. I would like to acknowledge the arrival of the Lieutenant Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. You're welcome to join us in here in Swelter. He's a smart man. He's going to stand there in the doorway, calm, cool, and collected, and wait till his speaking slot. Another sobering aspect of this project is the implausible length of time taken to complete it. Babies born in 1989, around the time of the earthquake, are now adults, including my own. And in the nearly 24 years since the shaking stopped, we've also lost people who've worked with vision and a sense of urgency on a safety solution for our new bridge. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some of the people who played a key role in the design and construction of this bridge, whom we have lost, as well as other notable passings connected with the project. The last name you saw on the screen was the single fatality that day in Loma Prieta, and I'm really honored to introduce you to someone who was here today who actually helped rescue that young woman's brother from that vehicle. He's since retired from Caltrans, but I think we owe him a great debt of thanks. Doug Drexler, can you stand and be recognized? Right there. I now have the pleasure to introduce my chairperson, Amy Worth, so prepare for another truly excellent set of remarks. Amy became chair a little over a year ago, and this was pre-bolts, and I'm sure figured that there might be more of a straight line to today than we've actually run, this zigzag pattern across the field. But she's held up like a trooper. and she's been a great leader through a very difficult time for this project. And so please join me in welcoming my chair, Amy Worth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Steve. I am so honored to be here today to welcome you all and to say what a great day it is, and congratulations to everyone. It really is a glorious day. Being around the Eastern Span these last several years, one of the things that you may have noticed is that construction is not an old boys club anymore. And it's something that video newsman Mark Jones also noticed when he was documenting the bridge. So he's done more than 20 oral histories of people working on the bridge, and he compiled a short video profiling some of the women who have contributed to the making of the East Span. Please join me in watching the video.
I am Julie Hilton. I work for MCM Construction. My mother worked on the new bridge. My brother did briefly. He also worked for MCM Construction for a while. My mom worked on the first and second phase with me for another one of the contractors that were out here on the Skyway portion. And my grandfather worked on the original span.
It's been fun. It's been really pretty amazing to work on this project. It's one of those projects that comes, once in a lifetime. The best part is seeing it take shape. When you finish your work, you see something.
My name is Catherine Quillen. I work for the General Superintendent of the project, so wherever there's guys working, I'm working. I'll take you out. No day is ever the same. And I think it's really interesting, I said in high school, I'm gonna go work and build bridges. And I'm building the largest bridge in the world.
Thank you, Mark, for your outstanding work, documenting the stories of so many women who are breaking barriers in the construction industries and helping build the infrastructure that will keep the Bay Area moving into the future, and also for forging a pathway for our daughters and our granddaughters. Thank you. As MTC and BATA Commissioner, and now as Commission Chair, it has been a real privilege to have had the opportunity over the years to get so close to the bridge project, even in the last 6 months. And now to get to know so many of the people, women and men, who have brought this bridge to life. I'd like to thank my Commission colleagues, both past and present, whose vision led to this magnificent bridge, and to the Toll Bridge Oversight and Management Committees, and to our independent peer review panel of experts. You've made this project your lives. I'd also like to extend a special thanks to our partners with the Federal Highway Administration, and to thank all of the toll payers who made this bridge possible through their financial support. I'd also like to thank all of the people who have worked so hard over the years to tell the story of the bridge to the public through their words, photographs, videos, and personal stories. From engineers to administrative staff, equipment operators, carpenters, painters, iron workers, welders, boat captains, van drivers, project managers, and every other job there is, the people on this project have been truly exceptional. And not just professional, not just hardworking, but happy to be doing the work they do, and happy to talk about it and to share their perspective on this incredibly and truly unique project. I remember coming out to Yerba Buena Island very late in the night during a previous Labor Day closing, and being fascinated by all the work and all the workers, from the demolition crews to the catering staff. The whole island was absolutely abuzz, and it was more than the buzz of activity. It was the buzz of commitment. I'll also never forget the excitement as watching the project workers and engineers that evening, as we watched the crew set out the travel guides for the giant hydraulic jacks as they moved the 350-foot-long piece of new bridge path inch by inch. There was no reverse gear, and there was only 2 inches of leeway on either end of that 350-foot section. This bridge is made of a lot more than steel and concrete. It is made of pride, too. Pride in the creation, pride in the perseverance, pride in the achievement, and the challenges faced and overcome. And pride in making a splendid location, not just that's beautiful today, but truly spectacular for generations to come. Some will look at the new bridge and see a road. Others will look at the bridge and see art. Others will look and see science. All these observations are true, and yet each is incomplete. I will forever look at this beautiful span and see the people who together literally bridged road, art, and science and made them soar. Thank you. And now in keeping of the theme of the great people who have contributed to this bridge, it is now my great pleasure to introduce my good friend Jim Gelmetti, Chair of the California Transportation Commission.
Thank you, Amy. As chairman of the California Transportation Commission, it's a real honor to be here today at this momentous occasion. I would like to take this moment to recognize and honor all of my fellow commissioners who are present today, starting with Commissioner Bobby Alvarado, Commissioner Lucy Dunn, Commissioner Fran Inman, Commissioner Joe Tavallone. I'd also like to honor 2 of our past commissioners that are present today, ex-Commissioner Jerry Hallacy and ex-Commissioner Phil Tagami. I would like to acknowledge our current and past executive directors and their staff for all their hard work in keeping this project moving forward. The CTC has played a crucial role serving on the Toll Bridge Oversight Committee as it was established by the legislature in July of 2005. We have been represented by 4 of our outstanding executive directors, Andre Boutros, who's on the podium with me today, John Barna, who's in the audience, as well as Diane Idem. I especially want to recognize the late Bimla Reinhardt for all her hard work and dedication to both the Commission and this important transportation project. Bimla is represented here by her husband, Vern. Vern's out there somewhere. And her brothers representing the Gill family. Thank you for attending. Other key staff members that worked tirelessly on this project were Stephen Mahler and Dina Noel. They labored long and hard as our representatives overseeing the project on our behalf. As you know, there were many delays in getting this important project underway. In the 90s, the problem was with the U.S. Navy to cooperate with Caltrans to allow them to do basic soils testing on Yerba Buena Island. For 4 years, the Navy was a roadblock. Along came CTC commissioner and attorney who refused to take no for an answer. He summoned a team of Navy lawyers out to California for a CTC meeting and greeted them with a line of questions that devastated the Navy's position. Within weeks, Caltrans was granted the permission they requested. Join me in acknowledging the accomplishments of past CTC Commissioner Jerry Hallacy. Jerry, will you stand up? There he is. In closing, my father worked on this bridge as a member of Carpenters Local 22, and my parents were here to celebrate the opening in 1936. The bridge cost $77 million, which I believe Steve alluded to. The program was 25 cents. In the program, you'll find some interesting statistics, but one strange point was out there that when the bonds were paid off, the bridge was supposed to be free. So I'm assuming the bridge hasn't been paid off yet. The earthquake in 1989 spelled the end of our 1936 achievement. It shouldn't have taken 24 years to replace the bridge and make the public safe. California must do a better job going forward on all of our public work projects. Let's learn from our mistakes and become more responsive to the public's needs as it was in 1936. Thank you and enjoy your new bridge.
Don't worry, we're in the home stretch, only 27 speakers to go. I do want to acknowledge a few more people in the audience. I see many current and former members of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission here today. 3 former chairs still serve on the commission: Alameda County Supervisor Scott Haggerty, Marin County Supervisor Steve Kinsey, and Solano County Supervisor Jim Sparing. We picked the design. I'm going to ask you all to stand up later, so hold the applause. We picked the design when Jim was chair, and I don't think he's ever going to forgive me for that. 2 former MTC commissioners here today, or I should say 3, deserve special recognition as well: Mary King, John Rubin, and Angelo Siracusa. Mary was the chair, and both John and Ange served on the Bay Bridge Design Task Force. And I can't thank them enough for sitting through all of those crazy meetings and writing all of those letters and sticking with this project to get it done. Can I ask all the current and former MTC commissioners present just to stand so we could acknowledge you? That includes you. Now, the first thing we did when we created the Bay Bridge Design Task Force is we created something else called the Engineering and Design Advisory Panel, or EDAP, because what did we know about picking a bridge design? Their chairman, Joe Nicoletti, couldn't be with us today because he had a hip replacement surgery not too long ago. In an email to me last week, Joe described the project as a long, hard fight, and truer words were never spoken. I would like to acknowledge the members of EDAP who are present. I see a few of them sprinkled here in the front, so whoever is an EDAP member, please stand and accept our appreciation. I'd also like to give a nod to 3 former members of the California legislature who are here today. Quentin Kopp of San Francisco and John Dutra of Fremont authored 2 of the 3 major funding packages that paid for the new bridge. Senator Hancock, of course, authored the other one. The Bay Area owes a great debt of thanks to all of these legislative leaders because they have provided the leadership and I guess I would call it the steering capacity as we've made our way through turbulent seas. I'd also like to acknowledge certainly the former Speaker of the State Assembly and former Mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, who is here. It's not often you have Quentin Kopp and Willie Brown in the same paragraph. You know, they both have the same middle initial L. It stands for lovable. That's what I was told, at least. 2 other people here this afternoon represent someone who unfortunately you saw in our In Memoriam segment, who was integral to making the new span accessible to bicyclists and pedestrians. David and Ron Zuckerman are here to represent their father, Alex. David, Ron, where are you? Are they here? Oh, they're way in the back. Boy, we should have gotten you guys better seats. Alex was really something. He had a rare combination of skills: persuasion, eloquence, and empathy. He was a class act, and he was often the quietest, but the most effective voice in a noisy room. The bike path is named in his honor, and we will open it tomorrow in his memory. There are also, on a lighter note, 4 other stalwarts who deserve a special moment of recognition. These 4 folks have been living, breathing, unstoppable, and unflappable advocates for the East Span. They have played very different roles, but they do share one thing in common. All 4, confusingly, I must say for the rest of us, share the same first name, Brian. So without further ado, the lives of Brian. So, our first Brian is Brian Peterson. He is the project manager for the self-anchored suspension bridge for American Bridge Floor. There he is in all his glory. You know, Brian was always the most nervous guy on the job, and you'd think he'd be worried about all the steel they were moving around, but he was really worried about, I think, our visits to the job site. Because I guess we spelled trouble to him, and he knew us well. So he developed this knack of showing up within seconds of us setting foot on the bridge. I think he must have posted a lookout atop the tower. Now, much has been said about the ungodly length of this project, and I will confess to you that Brian Peterson was much younger when it all began. I think that guy's got more hair than you too, Brian. Our second Brian is named Maroney. As the lead bridge engineer for Caltrans, he's always been the heart and soul of the project. He's been with me every step of the way, and I've barely got a word in edgewise. You know, the picture shows Brian at one of his exuberant moments, explaining something about the new East Span, and I still want to know his secret, how to stay excited about something for nearly 20 years in a row. He is just a force of nature. One thing, though, people do get wrong about Brian is they think the project gave him his gray hair. Actually, he went gray at an unusually early age. Brian number 3 is my CFO, Brian Mayhew. He's pictured here in his everyday work attire. Although every day is stretching it, we only see him a couple times a week when he jets in from his house in the Caymans. Brian's motto is spend other people's money first. But that didn't work real well on this project. The feds only kicked in 5% and the state only 25% more. The rest was on the long-suffering toll payers. But Brian at least lessened the suffering by getting us the lowest price $9 billion debt portfolio that Wall Street's ever seen. Then again, Brian has been at this financial game for an awfully long time. And you know it's coming, Mr. Secretary. The last Brian is our next speaker, Secretary of Transportation Brian Kelly. Brian is a veteran of all the legislative wars that have been fought over this bridge, having worked for a succession of Bay Area Senate leaders, from Bill Lockyer to John Burton to Don Parada to Darrell Steinberg. Yes, the current leader is from Millbrae, not Sacramento. So one way to sum up of looking at the combined contribution of all 4 Brians is this: if it weren't for Mayhew and Kelly, your tolls would be much higher to pay for this bridge. And thanks to Peterson and Maroney, They're as high as they already are. Our last Brian, Mr. Kelly, fortunately has been rescued from the legislature by Governor Brown, who's made an honest man out of him by appointing him our Secretary of Transportation. It's a role he's been training for his whole life. So let's bring Brian Kelly to the microphone and give a big round of applause to all of our Bryans.
Well, thank you, Steve. Not sure how to respond to that picture. I first want to say to the other Bryans, the other three Bryans, I want to compliment your mothers and your fathers for picking a great name. Congratulations. I'm obviously very honored to be here today, as Steve depicted in the video and went through. I've been associated with this project for some time, throughout my 18 years as a staff person in the state Senate, and more recently, my work in the Brown administration for the past 15 months. I will say that over those 18 years, this project has had quite an effect on me, like it has on everybody else associated with it. It has at times inspired me, challenged me, frustrated me, and today, after seeing the final product, it impresses me with its beauty, its grace, and its strength. There are thousands of men and women who gave much of themselves to see this project come to fruition. As I reflect on today's accomplishment, it is their work, their creativity, their resolve, and in many cases, their friendship that I want to spend a moment honoring. First, of course, on this day, you can't let a moment like this pass without honoring the men and women in the labor community who have done the work on this fine structure. So I want to acknowledge all of them. Secondly, and I know he loves when he's acknowledged, but he's one of my fellow Bryans, and he's just been so great to work with and provided me with so much counsel and guidance over the course of this project. I got to just tip my hat to Dr. Brian Maroney. Dr. Maroney is enthusiastic, he's energetic, he's passionate about what he does. In my view, he's a first-class public servant, and it has been my highest honor to get to know him as we work toward this day. Thank you, Brian. To my friend Steve Heminger and his colleague in crime, Randy Rentschler of the MTC and the Bay Area Toll Authority, the three of us have been partners on this project from the beginning. We worked well together, navigating some of the more difficult political terrain over the years, and today that work pays off. Steve, thank you. Randy, thank you too. It was mentioned again in the video that I've spent some time with state political leaders over the years, and there's a few that I want to particularly acknowledge because at very crucial moments in the life of this project, they really came through for the Bay Area. And I want to just spend a moment listing folks who taught me a great deal over the years and, again, had a great influence on this project. Bill Lockyer, Quentin Kopp, who is here, former Governor Pete Wilson, former State Senate President Pro Tem John Burton, Assemblymember John Dudra, who is here today, my former boss, Senate Pro Tem Don Parada, Senator Lonnie Hancock, who was instrumental in the passage of AB 144, and of course the former Governor Gray Davis. There are others, of course, but your collective leadership has made this day possible, and I want to acknowledge all of them. Of course, there are also several heads of the Department of Transportation over an 18-year horizon who've been associated with this project, from project selection, from the original decision, actually, to construct a new bridge, throughout many management challenges and political challenges in Sacramento. And a few come to mind that were great partners along the way. First, James Van Lobensel's from the Wilson administration, Jeff Morales, Will Kempton, and my colleague today and friend, Malcolm Doherty. Thank you all. I've learned a thing or two from Steve Heminger, and so I'm also going to thank my current boss. I want to thank Governor Brown for his leadership over the course of the last several months. This project hit a bit of a bumpy road, as you may have read or heard about, associated with some bolts on the bridge. But during all of that time, the governor displayed, for me, first, a steady focus on safety and a wisdom to let engineers make the decision on when the bridge is safe. And I appreciate that kind of direction from above. So thank you, Governor. And finally, and most importantly, I want to thank the people of the Bay Area. This journey to this day has not been an easy one. There have been great challenges in moving this project forward, some construction, some administrative, and some political. But through it all, the people of this region have displayed great patience. And tonight, we reward that patience with a magnificent structure that will serve this area for generations to come. It is true that nothing worth doing is easy, and this bridge, everybody knows, has not been easy, but it is certainly worthwhile. It enhances the beauty of the Bay Area, already among the most beautiful places on earth, while providing its travelers with safe passage between two great cities. Over the course of time, we will think less about the challenges and the controversies that surround this project, and instead recall the people associated with it, the human spirit, ingenuity, and creativity that built this bridge. I will always regard this new bridge as a very human triumph. Thank you very much. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the Director of the Department of Transportation, Mr. Malcolm Doherty. Malcolm.
Thank you, Secretary Kelly, or Brian. I can't tell you how happy I am that I'm not named Brian, but I can tell you there may not be a happier person in the room as the Director of the Department of Transportation that this day has come. Today is a monumental day, a day to commemorate the opening of this magnificent structure that is behind us that will provide safety back and forth between San Francisco and Oakland. 2.3 miles of strength and beauty, and the world's largest self-anchored, single-tower suspension bridge, a testament to every man and woman who worked to make this a reality. Nothing short, in my mind, than an engineering marvel. We are opening this bridge that is built to outlast every one of us here, and those who built the bridge will be able to tell their grandkids about it, and it is designed to last for 150 years and survive the largest quake we expect for more than a millennium. That is why we are here. That is why we built this bridge, and that is why we are opening it on this weekend for seismic safety. Today's chain cutting marks the completion not only of this project, but the Caltrans Toll Bridge Seismic Retrofit Program. And this is the last of 9 long-span bridges, 7 of which are here in the Bay Area, and they have either been retrofitted or replaced to accomplish seismic safety. Overall, since the Loma Prieta earthquake and the Northridge earthquake, Caltrans has upgraded more than 3,400 bridges, all in the name of safety. Californians depend on their bridges, and that is no more true than here in the Bay Area. The old bridge has been part of the life in the Bay Area for 77 years, and it has served us well, but it is time for an upgrade. Every bridge in my mind has a story. The old bridge certainly has a story, and I believe that the new bridge already has a story of architectural beauty, engineering ingenuity, construction prowess, and safety. We honor those from the Great Depression that built the first bridge, and from this day forward, we will honor those who built this bridge, and it is no more appropriate to do that than on Labor Day. I also want to tip my hat to my predecessors, many of them were mentioned. There is one other former Caltrans director, and as Leo Trombatori, and I welcome him. But I stand on the shoulders of my predecessors who nursed this project along, and I'm the fortunate one that gets to stand here when we open it. There are so many people that have invested blood, sweat, and tears into this bridge, all to bring safety to the people of this region and those who use it. And I could not possibly name all of those who are involved, but I will, at risk of my own peril, try to identify some of the key figures. From the designers and architects, T.Y. Lin and Moffett and Nickel and Parsons Brinkerhoff, people like Dennis Jang, Marwan Nader, Shajid Abbas, Al Ely, Brady Nadell. I got three more. Don McDonald, Herb Rothman, and Clive Endress. Those individuals and many others are responsible for the iconic structure and the look of it out there today. I also will tip my hat to the contracting forces that built this bridge and all the segments among it. Many were mentioned by Mr. Flowers, but I will also acknowledge because we are eternally indebted to them, American Bridge Floor, MCM, Flatiron, C.C. Myers, Kiewit, Manson, and the countless other contractors and subcontractors that made this work happen. Please give them another round of applause. And I'm also going to take the risk of naming a few individuals. Again, I will end up leaving some people out, but I cannot let this moment go by without acknowledging some of the key players. The Toll Bridge Program Manager is Mr. Tony Anziano. Tony, your relentless persistence and help along the way is much appreciated by me personally. Thank you. Brian Maroney has already been mentioned, engineer extraordinaire. He's been here from day one. The project manager is Ken Terpstra. Just one of the principal design managers, Steve Holsibus. And then I will read off four names who were heavily involved in the construction effort, and then I will ask them to stand and we can give them a round of applause at the end. They were here all this weekend. They are here all every weekend that we have a closure, and they are primarily responsible from my part, the Department of Transportation, for making this happen. Bill Casey, Deanna Vilcek, Amir Bada, and Doug Cole. If you four could please stand up. These individuals are only a small representation of the amount of effort that went in and the other people that are here, and I thank them all, and I have an enormous amount of respect for their talent and skills, and thank them personally. There are many alumni in the room also, and I tip my hat. They've moved on to greener pastures, but certainly made a significant contribution to this project. I want to thank the CTC team and the BATA team for their cooperation. My cohorts on the Toll Bridge Program Oversight Committee, Mr. Steve Heminger and Mr. Andre Boutros, thank you very much, and congratulations to both of you two. And one other person or group of people that I have to thank is the California Highway Patrol. We could not have done this without them. Commissioner Farrow, from top to bottom, the utmost of professionalism and assistance, and again, skill that we could not have done without, and I thank you again personally. I will name two other individuals. They were acknowledged as a group, but the peer review panel that we enlisted to help guide us from an external perspective to make sure we were making the best decisions in light of all the safety decisions that we had to make, and two of those individuals are here, Mr. Frieder Saibwi and Ed Idris. I am eternally grateful to both of you two. And to the people of the Bay Area, this is your bridge. This bridge is fitting for this region, this great two cities, and this great state. Congratulations to all. This is what we have been working towards for many years, and I can't be a happier department director. Now, before I introduce the next speaker, I'm going to make an announcement, and I've been warned not to do this by my PIO people and my construction managers, but we will open this bridge tonight. well ahead of the 5 a.m. target. Sorry, Deanna, I had to do it. But we will open this bridge tonight, and I couldn't be happier. Earlier in the program, we heard from the mayor of the great city of Oakland, Mayor Kwan, and now it is my pleasure to introduce the mayor at the other end of the bridge, the mayor of the great city of San Francisco, Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Malcolm. If I may start out by saying, I just want to join in everyone else's great appreciation and deep appreciation for all of the contractors, the workers, the men and women who have built this bridge, designed it as engineers and designers. I also want to thank Steve Heminger, because we've grown accustomed to a reassuring voice, a positive face on this project. And I just want to say thank you, Steve, because you help all of us think as a Bay Area when it comes to transportation, not just as individual cities and counties. Thank you, Steve Heminger, MTC. Anita and I, a couple hours ago, rode over the opposite way on the new span and marveled at being able to do that, perhaps the only time in our lifetime, except if you're in the custody of the California Highway Patrol. You know, in 1936, the East and the West communities of our great Bay Area came together like never before to celebrate this most innovative, largest bridge of its time. And I know while it took a while, today we are once again coming together to celebrate this innovative design that we now know will be an icon around the world. Thank you, Mayor Willie Brown, for your push for that iconic design, because the excitement of opening at night is you're going to see that splendor in the wonderful light that it is no matter which way you go. And that was what you wanted to accomplish, I know that. Because we shouldn't just have a bridge. We should have a symbol of resilience, of accomplishment, of honor to all the men and women who participated in this. And that's what we will have for generations to come. In fact, 1,500 years to come. Thank you very much, Willie Brown, for that. And what an incredible moment in history that we have both mayors of San Francisco and Oakland being Chinese Americans. We are linked by the legacy of Chinese Americans that helped build the state, including building infrastructure projects like the railroads, with many of the Chinese immigrants coming through San Francisco to Angel Island Immigration Station just to reach our shores. This new Bay Bridge will not just be an engineering and aesthetic marvel. It'll also be San Francisco and Oakland's economic lifeline, carrying approximately 280,000 vehicles between San Francisco and the East Bay each day, and hundreds of thousands of bicyclists at the same time. Today marks the historic beginning for our region, but it is also an important ending for a long chapter of building a new and better bridge after the 1989 earthquake. Just 24 years ago, that earthquake devastated a region. It took 63 lives, and it impacted us forever. And we were forced with an accepted opportunity to build something better. In my city, because of the earthquake, the Embarcadero Freeway is gone, and now the waterfront continues to undergo a remarkable transformation that thrills residents and visitors alike. Now the seismic retrofit of today's Bay Bridge will ensure that when the next massive earthquake hits, and it will, our infrastructure will withstand that, just like our spirit. This bridge serves as a monument to ingenuity and creativity, and it will enhance us against natural forces well beyond our control. And as we say thank you to the contractors, the engineers, the men and women in our labor force and their representatives, and as they go on to other bridges, other transportation projects like BART extensions and more tunnels and the Transbay Transit Center. As we say goodbye and as their role becomes less visible to us, and as they go into improving the bridge and maintaining it, we say hello once again to the California Highway Patrol, to the men and women who work in the Oakland and San Francisco police departments, who along every single day will work with Caltrans maintenance crews to welcome in all of the commuters, to make sure they're safe, and certainly to make sure bicyclists are safe as well on our bridge. In closing, a heartfelt congratulations to everyone involved in getting us to this day. It is an exciting day for San Francisco, for Oakland, for the Bay Area, as we celebrate the historic opening of our east span of the Bay Bridge. And now, please allow me to introduce perhaps the coolest guy in the room, because he's not been inside this building. Former mayor of our great city, now the lieutenant governor of our great state, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. Thank you, everybody. I thought it particularly generous when Steve came to me and tapped me. He said, "You get to speak as the keynote as long as all the previous speakers combined." I thought that was pretty remarkable, considering I've been standing up for about 2 hours. So all I'll say is brace yourself. Thankfully, I'll be brief. I guess the first thoughts that come to mind are, as a former Jesuit in training at Santa Clara University, God's delays are not God's denials. We're finally here. The second thing, listening to Malcolm in particular and Brian as they went on to appropriately recognize so many of you, I think every single person in this room in some way, shape, or form has been recognized, most of you individually, that the old adage or the old saw that Plato once thrust, that it was, if there was any hope for the future, those with lanterns must pass them on to others. This quarter of a century of remarkable constancy, faith, and devotion to a project through every conceivable and challenging opposition, you guys were able to bring us to where we are today. I want to just say a few words because Mayor Lee and I shared the similar experience. I had a chance to drive out here west to east as well. And as I'm driving, and you'll all have this experience, many of you have been working, you've had that experience, as you look at the old bridge, it started reminding me of something I've been thinking a lot about. I read, many of you have read Tom Brokaw's wonderful book called The Greatest Generation. And talks so evocatively, understandably, about the generation of World War II that really built this middle class. It started making me think about California in the 50s and 60s and 70s, where California was a tentpole for the American economy. No state in America over those 3 decades grew jobs at the rate of the state of California. We grew at an annual rate of about 2.7%, the nation at an interesting clip, but roughly about 2.2%, substantially slower job creation. We were in the future business, building out roads, building out bridges and ports, airports, and the like. That greatest generation was the save and invest generation. And I think about the bookmark of the last 30 years. When we were that tentpole for the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you think of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We must mash these numbers up about a year ago, PPIC. We're no longer the tentpole of the American economy. No longer are we growing at a substantially higher rate than the rest of the nation. We've become average. And it's symbolic in so many ways of what's happened to America and the American dream. We moved from the greatest generation to a generation that someone described the other day as the grasshopper generation, eating up everything in sight. No longer save and invest, the grasshopper generation defined by borrow and spend. And so it seems to me this day marks an opportunity for us to think about the future and get back to the future business, to start investing in that formula for success that defined the greatness of our state. a state of dreamers, of doers, of entrepreneurs, of innovators that has long prided itself on being on the leading and cutting edge. That's what we represent here today, a regeneration of sorts, reinvesting in sustainable values, not just from an environmental perspective, but sustainability from a long-term perspective. Not the situational values that have defined the last few decades, where we're focused more on what the situation calls for, the 24-hour cable news cycles, the quarterly reports, whatever the election requires me to do in order to get ahead, to a focus of sustainability, not short-termism, but investing in the future so that we all can do well there. So I want to just thank all of you for being part of that regeneration. I want to thank all of you for your commitment to the great cause of this state so that we can move past the stale debate about solvency, as incredibly important as it is, and once again start focusing on greatness. That's California's fate, and it will be our future. And so this is a significant part of it. Let me close by picking up a little bit on what Brian and Malcolm just said. I just saw this great documentary about the building of Santa Maria del Fiore in Florence, Italy. It was built during the Renaissance in the mid-15th century, about 50 years before Columbus set sail. And it was a testament of the time, not to their proud past, because there was nothing Gothic about the architecture. There was nothing even Romanesque about the architecture. It was literally something new and something to behold. The architect at the time was renowned. Some of you may know his name well, Brunelleschi, Filippo Brunelleschi. And he was asked over and over again about his greatness and his genius. But he said exactly what Brian and Malcolm were saying. He says, it was not my genius. It was the genius of Florence. To wit, my point. The most important people are all of those that are about to enjoy something for a generation. It's the genius of the people of San Francisco, Oakland, the entire Bay Area, Northern California, and this great state that we should celebrate today. Because it hasn't been for their devotion to this cause, their willingness to exercise their faith to this effort, none of us would get to enjoy the fruits of your extraordinary labor. So it's in that spirit that I look forward, as now I am prepared, having come late because of my 10-minute internship on figuring out how one takes a chain and not a rope and prepares to cut it. That I look forward, after Steve makes some final remarks, to inviting all of you out to that moment each and every one of us have been waiting for. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. You did hear him say 10 minutes, right? So I would give him a wide berth when he gets that torch fired up. Governor Schwarzenegger ruined a perfectly good Armani suit opening the West Approach in San Francisco, so a word of warning. I'm going to wedge in a few more thank yous before we go. The first to the project management team that has kept Malcolm, Andre, and I on the straight and narrow for 8 years now. Tony Anziano from Caltrans, Stephen Mahler from the CTC, and Andy Vermeer from the Bay Area Toll Authority. Gentlemen, take a bow. We all owe a great debt of gratitude to two generals at the head of a small army of folks who put this event together in only a couple of weeks. I'd like to acknowledge Mark Guelphy of Hartman Studios, who's probably out there working, and Randy Rentschler, who's been in and out of the room from, I guess I should call it MTC Enterprises. There he is. Malcolm, I believe we missed one Caltrans director. I've worked with 8 of them on this project, believe it or not, and I'm counting on Malcolm to be the last. I think it's Randy Iwasaki. Randy's here. And my 2 predecessors are in the house as well, Larry Doms and Bill Hine. Thank you both for being here. Now, for those of you who haven't been living in a cave the last several months, you know that we've had some trouble with bolts on the suspension span of our new bridge. And that trouble has played out very publicly in a series of meetings before my commission, and about 15 of those television cameras every time we did it. The meetings have been tough, but necessary, and the last one in July was maybe the toughest yet. And at the end of a long morning, we were all wrung out and I think ready for some early cocktails. And then during the public comment period, something really magical happened.
And I'd like to call upon Elise Romanowski.
I just want to come before you to speak on behalf of the Troll sculpture. In 1989, the Loma Prieta earthquake collapsed a section of the eastern span of the Bay Bridge. As the repair of the damaged bridge neared completion, a 14-inch iron troll was attached to the bridge to protect it from harm. Now, the troll knows that the new bridge is being completed. What will happen thereafter? Could it be the problems with the new bridge are due to the troll's impending eviction from it? What will happen to our benignant bridge creature, a sign of strength and instrumental in our last rebuilding, who kept us from harm's way for the past 24 years? Let's save the troll. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh guys, no, well, we got it all this way, right? I mean, weeks of hyper secrecy. No worries, guys. I just want to introduce the woman who you just saw. Her name is Elise Romanowski. She is here today. Where is she? There she is. God bless you. So she is here, and now that the old span is closed, so is the troll. Gentlemen, do your duty. If you'd like to have your picture taken with the troll, that chance will be coming in just a few minutes. He will then return to a secure, undisclosed location until we can find him a permanent new home. This concludes our program here in the Bridge Yard. It's been a long time building this bridge, and we've spent a long time talking about it. Those of you who want to stay here and look at the displays, take your picture with the troll, look at this. The troll is already getting lots of action. Should feel free to do so. For those of you who want to see the formal chain cutting ceremony and perhaps hop in one of the first cars to cross the new east span, that will take place just a short walk away at the Toll Plaza, and there will be plenty of folks outside to guide you. We're generally heading that way. I'll ask our dignitaries on the stage to follow me out of the building first as we make our way to the Toll Plaza. Thank you again for being here on this great day for our region, our state, and our nation.